On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks are going to be drafting within the 10 to 16 range. Who fits the best? We brought on Rafael Barlowe of NBA Big Board to tell us and explain what's going on with this draft. And today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm going to get a city like that.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Wesley.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave me alone.
Your team every day.
Gotta be born with it, dog blood.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer. Make it Locked On Mavs your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. And joining me, as always, co-host, media member for 10 years, the draft dude, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Hold on a second. Oh, sorry. I had to turn off that AI Mavs video. I was watching it again. It was just so good.
Does it get you hyped up?
Yeah, no, dude. Before the pod, I just had to turn it on real quick and just get in the zone. It's one of my favorite pieces of content I've seen over the past 5 years.
Stupid.
Man, I'm so excited to talk NBA draft. I love draft season. Even when the Mavs don't have a pick, I'm like making little draft profiles, or I'm like, hey, can we do a draft pod? And it's like, hey, we don't have a pick, right? But no, and obviously anytime Rafael can hop on, he's been a friend of ours for a while, and he's stationed here in Dallas, and obviously he works on the network with Locked On, NBA Big Board. He has a Substack. This dude, here's the thing. Draft season's a lot of fun for me, but I'm a parachute guy. All right. I will parachute in. I watch prospects throughout the year, like the top maybe like 27 prospects, like random games here and there. But then I really dive into it. I parachute in right now and like, hey, let me throw this expert label out. All right. Rafael's like one of those dudes. Like, and those are the dudes I super respect with this. And this dude travels around the world, literally, like not exaggerating, and goes to different countries and watches it, has all these agent connections and knows workouts and just all the stuff. And so, yeah, I love talking NBA draft with him. Honestly, not saying this because it's just the network. One of the dudes I trust the most with NBA draft stuff.
He called Dereck Lively 2 years ago.
He did. I mean,
March.
I was so like skeptical about the Lively pick, but dude, Rafael was the guy that was like constantly in our ears, like, nah, Lively's gonna be good. Like, Mavs like him too a lot, and all this stuff. I was like, man, really? Like, do we really need a big right now? Like, all this stuff. So, yeah, when heard that Rafael's gonna hop on the pod, I got super excited about it.
Let's hear from him. Just time it and hope for the best.
Nick, you just want to alternate or what?
Yeah, we'll go. Let's go back and forth, and if you come up with something else, though, go for it.
All right.
3, 2. All right, welcome in for the great Locked On NBA Big Board, the NBA Big Board Substack as well. One of the best draft guys out there, going from my money. Rafael Barlowe of NBA Big Board. What you got for me?
I'm surprised that I'm talking to you guys about the draft in March. It wasn't in my plans for the year. And if I'm talking draft in March, that means something went wrong.
Yep, here we are. Here we are. Talking draft in March. I also recently, somebody said to me somebody reminded me, man, the Mavs, all they needed was a backup 4. Remember you guys did all those shows about trades for a backup 4 when Obi Toppin went off the other night? And I was like, remember the days when we said we wouldn't do any trade pods this year? And I think we did the most trade pods we've ever done this year.
Yeah, you guys did a lot of different podcasts this year
than we would have expected, for sure.
Oh, we're lucky though. We get Rafael here in Dallas, and so we get to see you in person and Mavs games. So you've got to. I know all the other pods will have you on to talk about draft. Like Nick said, you're literally one of the best in the whole business. Subscribe to the Substack for a long time now. Obviously, you got the podcast, but the Substack is a must too. But you've kind of got to walk this whole Luka journey with Mavs fans too, being here in Dallas. So that's been fun for you.
It's still shocking, I mean, every time I see the Laker games and he's on there, it's like, then you go to the game Sunday and it's like 30 people in the crowd with 8 minutes until tip off. It's just totally different. But
Yeah.
I'm still shocked.
Have you heard from people? You talk to a lot of like agents and people. Have you heard from anybody or just people in the league when you go to events and things like that? What are they talking about when they talk about the Mavs right now?
Believe it or not, there were some people that when it first went down that thought the Mavs did something really gutsy that would open the door for a team like maybe Charlotte to make a similar move if they don't feel like LaMelo's going to lead them anywhere. So there's some people that thought it was pretty gutsy. I even had a trainer tell me that when Luka first got to the States right before training camp his rookie year, he did a skill session with them. He was like, he couldn't dribble. He didn't have any, he just couldn't make shots and he was just horrible. And then they started playing fives and he started killing everybody. And so he said that he could see from Nico's mindset, if he's a guy that's been around Kobe and he wants someone with the mindset of Kobe, how he would just think that Luka is lazy or whatever. But then he just said that you can't deny the production. So people were shocked about it, but now there are agents that are, they would love for their guys to be in Dallas right now because there's a lot of opportunities for playing time, but the Mavs just don't have any. They can't sign anybody.
Luka was probably playing a joke on that trainer. He was like, I'm gonna act like I can't dribble for a second. All right, let's talk about those opportunities. Let's talk about the draft. The Mavericks, I mean, they literally could end, I don't know, 12 to 16. I know it's a good little range there. If they miss the play-in tournament, the participation tournament, or it's or if they make it and bow out early. Let's say they land in that 12 to 16 range. Who are just broadly speaking here, who are a handful of names that you'd be looking at for Dallas?
There's actually one guy that, and it's not necessarily a hot take for attention, but there's a guy that I think would be a perfect fit for Dallas. And he's not projected to go in that range, but it is Maxime Reynaud from Stanford, a 7-footer. And the reason I
love this guy.
I like him. Well, the reason I think he would fit with Dallas simply because people are gonna think I'm crazy because they just drafted Lively a couple years ago. But Reynaud's a 7-footer. He was second in the ACC of scoring, led the ACC in rebounding. Very skilled, can shoot the three. And I think with Luka not on the roster, you don't have a need for 48 minutes of vertical lob threats. And I think with Maxi Kleber being gone, the Mavs are going to need at least another 4 or 5 that can space the floor. And so I think Reynaud fits the bill. He's 22, but he just started playing. And I think that he's very, very underrated.
I want to laugh because they're going to draft another center. Like we're going to do that. We're going to go down that. But I'll remind people that it was March of 2023 when I had you on and you talked about, there's this young guy at Duke named Dereck Lively and he could be a guy coming up draft boards. And then that has worked out incredibly well for the Mavericks. So I won't laugh at that. But
you want to hear something funny about that? The day after the draft, I went on one of the local radio shows and the question was, how do we know Lively's not Moses Brown? And ironically,
Alstom. Who asked you that?
I can't remember which station. Maybe CBS.
Reggie Atatula. 105.3 The Fan.
Yeah, I went on and they're just looking at the numbers. 5 points a game. Obviously, those numbers aren't going to stand out. And then what makes it ironic is Moses Brown had 18 and 10 over his last two
couple games right there.
Yeah.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks daily fantasy made easy. Go check out PrizePicks because there's so much stuff. Basketball is heating up. There's no better way to get on the action with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With PrizePicks, you just pick more or less on at least one or at least 2 player projections and a shot for up to 1,000 times your cash. It's easy to use, available in over 30 states. It lets you mix and match projections across different sports. It's even available in Texas, so you can play it here, which is absolutely awesome. You could build lineups. You could pick different players from across different sports and say, all right, I'm going to pick if you decided to pick more points for Obi Toppin the other day when he scored 34 points, then that was an incredible play from you. If you decided to pick more for Quentin Grimes, Maybe that was your happiness hedge where you're like, hey, the Mavs don't have him, but at least I can pick more on PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly if you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly if you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Also brought to you by Hungry Root. There's so many things to do. Mavs are still playing basketball games. We're talking about draft stuff. There's work to do. There's all kinds of things. And you probably have a busy life with all kinds of things and meetings too. You don't have time to go to the grocery store, figure out what you need to eat and all that kind of stuff. Stick to your healthy goals. Hungry Root is a game changer. It's like having a personal shopper and nutritionist all in one, taking care of grocery shopping, recommending meals and groceries based on my tastes and health goals. And everything is available and ready in 15 minutes or less. That you can put it together. Awesome. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as we do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Don't miss out.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
No, I've seen you tweet about this guy from Stanford, and I've looked into him, like, because for a while I don't feel like you've seen him on any draft boards for first round, and now I feel like you're starting to see him at the end of some of these first round mocks or draft big boards and stuff. But if somebody's listening to this and they don't know anything about him and they're just seeing different people's mock drafts or big boards, what's a name that around that range that people could be seeing in that late lottery range that you're like, hey, I'd keep an eye on this guy?
Well, another French prospect is Nolan Traore. He was projected as a top 5 pick coming into the season. He's kind of struggled, been up and down. Some people think he's the best French guard prospect since Tony Parker. There were people that were wondering why wasn't he on France's Olympic team last summer. He's someone that could be in that range. He would fit a need for like guard help right away, but at the same time, with the Mavs timeline that Nico mentioned after the trade, they're looking for someone that can come in and probably play right away. And I don't know if there's going to be an 18 or 19-year-old freshman that is going to be able to come in and contribute right away, especially if Kyrie is going to be out until, let's say, February or March. You're going to need someone probably to come in and just at least make the Mavs competitive until he comes back. So that's why the situation is really tricky. But they need guard help. I think they're either going to go with a big that can space the floor or point guard help. But I think Brandon Williams has played well, and I can't see a point guard from this class other than maybe Dylan Harper, who's going to go number 2, that can come in and actually be better than Brandon Williams is right now.
Yeah, he's really played well the last couple of weeks. It is sort of hard to look at the basketball that he's played and try and compare it to, all right, well, when everybody's back and when the basketball isn't just March basketball, because we're seeing Quentin Grimes go off, Obi Toppin go off the other night. It's kind of a weird time in NBA. Like every March, we used to have the joke that March Dwight Powell, April Dwight Powell would always leap off the floor because those effort and energy guys always make a big leap. If there was somebody in this range, the 10 to 15 range, that you would say is the most ready to help day one, who is somebody that you'd think that the Mavs should target? Because I agree with you. They're going to want somebody that can either play day one or they'll trade the pick.
Well, that point guard or big, I don't know. That's why Reynaud was, to me, an option, simply because he's got the numbers. He can space the floor, and he would give them some depth. I mean, if other than Davis, there's not a big or 5 that can space the floor, that can shoot jumpers. And like I said, without Luka, I don't think you need 48 minutes of vertical lob threats. So that's why I would go with Reynaud. Maybe, you could probably go with a guy like Con Kneppel. I think he's somewhat ready, but he's a wing. He's more of a connector. He's a floor spacer, a good passer, but I don't know if he would be able to provide some depth, but I'm not sure that he'd be available, especially with him leading Duke to the ACC tournament without Cooper Flagg. I think he goes inside the top 10.
I like Traore a lot. I just love this dude. This kid's like feel for the game. I feel like you could just watch playmaking stuff from him like all day. I do wonder about his like size in the next level.
Yeah.
But Yeah. Okay. Just a name as we're staying at this range real quick. Liam McNeely. Do you
Local
like him?
guy. Yeah, I like him. Kid that I've seen quite a bit from Richardson. He has good size, a connector. He's similar to Con Knuppel, a guy that's going to be able to come in, knock down shots, make plays. He hustles. He plays hard. I don't know if the Mavs are healthy, if there's going to be a lot of time for him, because if the roster as of today, PJ is going to start at the 3, and then you got Najee Marshall. Then I just don't know where there would be opportunities for him to play, unless you have a rash of injuries like that. But I just think like unless it's a point guard or a backup big, I just don't see a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, and we said this on the last post-game show, I've never felt less confident about anybody's place on the roster going into next season, right? So like we're projecting, they're going to have this guy and this guy. Who knows? Who knows who's going to be on the roster, because nobody's safe, right? They're going to be, anybody can be traded. Luka got traded. I mean, it could be possible. So it's like you can try to, I feel like we could try to project this year, but I don't know. The Mavs could go completely off the board, and they've got some aging guys too. I mean, they could need to find somebody to replace AD when he starts aging too, right? Like it's just, it is a very interesting time for the Mavs right now. They do have this situation where Kyrie is going to be out. You mentioned this for a while. You mentioned Traore as a guy that could fill in. Is there anybody else in the Mavs range that you look at and say, all right, a guard, a shot creator, a shot maker, somebody like that in that range?
Well, I like Jeremiah Fears at Oklahoma, but he's young. He's actually supposed to be in high school right now. He reclassified up. He's someone that I think it will be more beneficial for him to possibly go somewhere where he can learn and play through mistakes. And I think with Dallas, yes, I mean, having Kyrie there to mentor him and who's ever on the roster would be good. But I think that he would need to go to a team like Brooklyn, where he's able to just play through mistakes. He's a few years away from being able to contribute. Danny Wolf from Michigan is a very intriguing big. He's 7 foot, a phenomenal passer, moves incredibly well for a guy listed at 7 foot, 250. He should be able to come in and plug and play, and I think he could be like a backup option. But as far as guards, unless they want to go with somebody that they can probably trade down for, that you may not have to take in the late lottery, you got Cam Jones from Marquette, who I think could come in and contribute. I mean, he's a guy that he led Marquette in scoring last year, and that Marquette team had 2 guys that were drafted, and then he ends up playing point guard this year and averages like 6 assists per game. And he's one of the better guards, and I think is NBA ready, but I think you can move down and get him somewhere in the late teens or even mid-20s.
All right, let's say the Mavericks are going to trade up. Let's say they land at like 12, and they're like, all right, we're going to piece together another future pick. We want to move up in that 4 or 5 range, if they could, hypothetically.
Yep.
VJ Edgecombe or Trey Johnson?
That's the tough one. Trey's a local guy. He's from here in Dallas. The first time I saw him play, actually I didn't see the game, but I saw the film. He had like 40 points against Cason Wallace, and he was a sophomore, and Cason was a senior. And Cason's a pretty good defender. I like Trey. I think he has a higher upside, but I do think that VJ would be the safer of the two. Probably more so of a plug-and-play guy. He's an excellent defender, probably the best athlete in this draft class.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
He's a phenomenal athlete, rebounds, connective passer. He's actually shot the ball a lot better than I thought. And he had a phenomenal summer. He was on the Bahamas national team that played in the Olympic qualifiers. And if you just didn't know players and you just watched the game, you would have thought he was their best player. And this was a team that had Buddy Hield and Eric Gordon and DeAndre Ayton. Got off to somewhat of a slow start this year, but was really good in conference play. So he would probably be the target that I would assume kind of fits what they're looking for.
I love Edgecombe. I was texting with one of our old friends with the Mavs back in the day, Melvin Hunt, coach, for the Mavs.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's on Baylor's staff. So I was texting him the other day about VJ and just the type of player and kid he is and all this stuff. And of course, I mean, he's just raving about him. And picturing a guy like that in Dallas too. And like the first time, because you're the draft junkie, you've been watching most of these prospects since, I don't know, they started walking at home. And for me, I'd heard about him, but then I really saw him like pop off whenever it was the Bahama play. And I was like, my gosh, there's no way that's a kid like outshining all these. I think Eric Gordon was on that team too, and it just all these NBA players, and this dude's just balling out there. And I was like, all right, he's going to be a lot of fun. And his athleticism, like you said, it's just unreal.
Yeah. I like Trey too. I mean, Trey's a gifted scorer, very competitive. He's a guy that just wants to win. And he's a much, much better passer than he's given credit for. People kind of label him as like a tough shot taker, tough shot maker, guy that doesn't pass the ball. But I think he's a really underrated passer. And I think he could, and people may think I'm crazy, but I think that he could end up being like a Devin Booker in a sense, to where Devin doesn't get credit for being a passer. I mean, he's averaging like 5 or 6 assists per game, loves to shoot the mid-range shot, and that's what Trey does.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer very exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of a high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from the first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national savings average. Interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Yeah, the Mavs are all of a sudden, when I start to think about the draft for the Mavs, all the needs are just so different. Like, they actually need that now. They need a playmaker. They need somebody that can actually take and make shots. Do we know what a Nico Harrison draft pick is right now? Isaac or Rafael? We've seen him draft. He went and drafted Jaden Hardy. Like, he went and found him. He went after Dereck Lively and targeted him and traded for him. Then he traded for Omax. He got Melvin Aginsa last year. There's draft and stash we haven't really seen, but I don't know if we have a full track record. Like, would you say that there's a player that you think is a Nico Harrison type at this point? Because it seems like he does go after the guys that were super high ranked in high school, but then maybe disappointed a little bit in college. That's the one thing I think I could probably draw a through line with some of those guys.
Well, they all wear Nikes.
I mean, that's the through line through everything. Like, I feel like I put a pair of Adidas on and I just start walking around Dallas, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, hold on. It's gonna come
I mean, you know what? That's a pretty interesting take. I don't know. I think Traore kind of fits that, because coming into the season, a lot of people thought he was going to be number 4, number 5. He's kind of slipped a little bit, and so he could be that guy. Another name to look out for is Jace Richardson. And this is going to make you feel old, but that's Jason Richardson's son.
I thought you were going to say grandson.
Well, he was only in the 2001 draft. If he has a grandson, that's pretty crazy. But
that would have made me feel old.
Yeah, that makes you feel old. But Jason's trending up. I mean,
Giddy's like, I'm impressed.
I remember when Jason was on Michigan State's last championship team in 2000, and his son is on the team 25 years later, trending in the right direction. He's not going to wow you with physical tools. He's 6'3". He's not a high flyer like his dad. He's just really, really efficient, knows how to play the game the right way. I mean, I can say like he's this year's Reed Shepherd in a sense, to where he's just statistically shooting 51% from the floor, 41% from three. The problem is he's 6'3". You don't know if he's a 1. You don't know if he's a 2. He's averaging less than 2 assists per game, but he's just a gamer.
Okay, I'm going to try to, I don't know the better way of asking this. I mean, you look at in Traore, you look at the kid out of BYU. How do you pronounce his last name? Is it Demine? Demine. Yeah. Super tall playmaker. Just considering all the stuff with Luka and just like, can they take an international like creator ball handler and like bring him into Dallas after all of this stuff? Like, it just feels like an impossible situation. Like I look at someone like Dimon and it's like, all right, like, you know, I feel like it's kind of mixed results on who you talk to about how they feel about him. But like, really a 6'6", 6'7" playmaker.
He's actually 6'9".
6'9". Wow. Okay. I was shorting him there. You know, I don't know. What do both of y'all think? Like, would it be possible for the Mavs to take an international player for like a high draft pick right now?
Well, here's why I think that's an interesting one, because one, I actually talked to a scout and he said the Mavs need him because the knock on Demon is that he doesn't shoot. He's not aggressive. And a scout mentioned like, well, the Mavs probably need that because they need someone that doesn't want to shoot the ball. Everyone on their team is looking to shoot. They don't have a passer.
Tim's like, I'm gone. Come on.
But here's why it gets tricky. If you had to guess who Yegor's agent is, take a guess.
Oh, is it Bill Duffy?
It's Bill Duffy. Where did Yegor play?
Luka's agent.
Before he came to BYU? Real Madrid. So
yeah, that's
when the Mavs cost Luka $117 million, I don't know if Bill Duffy's going to send Yegor's physical.
God bless.
So, and then Yegor is
he got him to LA. He did him a favor, if anything.
That's definitely true. But $117 million is $117 million.
God
and he
bless.
went to a state with like 13% state tax. So, but yeah, with Yegor, I think on one hand he does kind of fit what they need in a sense because he has the size. He's the best passer in the draft. Just the knock on him is that he's not really assertive. He struggles with ball handling. The form looks good, but he's just not an efficient shooter. But he would give the Mavs a guy that is going to make sure Klay gets touches. And that's one of the knocks I've heard from different scouts about the way the roster is constructed now is they don't have a lot of guys that are passers. Right? And for Klay, he's going to need somebody that's going to get him the ball. And so they're
those
probably
connector pieces, like you said, right?
Yeah, the connector pieces. And that's what Yegor is. I mean, I've seen some people say that maybe he could be like Josh Giddey. I don't know if he rebounds as well as Josh, but he's an intriguing guy. But personally, I think he should go back to school.
Who's somebody in the Mavs range right now that you just do not like the fit or do not like that player for the Mavs at all? You look at it and you go, this is not it.
Asa Newell from Georgia. He's just kind of redundant to what they have with Lively and Daniel Gafford. Maybe he shows a little bit more upside as a shooter, can put the ball on the floor a little bit, but I don't think that it would make sense. Derek Queen is pretty interesting. Maybe one of the most skilled guys in the draft, but he's a guy, he may not pass the eye test, a little chubby, not a high flyer, but maybe
I'll stop you right there. Not going to happen.
So that eliminates Colin Murray Boyles too.
I do straight up. I don't understand him. I mean,
Colin
I'm
Murray
not.
Boyles?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the.
I agree. He's my toughest eval. I mean, he's 6'7". He's listed at 245. Doesn't space the floor. He's a good
Some people
passer.
love this guy, right? Like,
some people really love him. It's very interesting. I've never seen a situation where a guy doesn't have ideal positional size, doesn't space the floor, and he was on a team that only won 2 games in the conference, and people aren't holding it against him.
Yeah.
But I think he's one of those guys that the right fit, the right creative coach can maybe unlock something there, but I'm not big on like one-to-one player comparisons, but I do like to have like an archetype, and the Draymond Green one doesn't necessarily fit. Even though he's a good defender, he's not like the point forward Draymond is. He's a good passer, but I think his passing is unlocked when he's being fed the ball and he's able to make reads. If he's being doubled, that's not going to happen in Dallas. He's an interesting one.
Here, one more thing. I just got two quick ones real quick. I mean, I just want to talk to Rafael.
Keep going. Keep going. Oh, okay.
All right, Rasheer Fleming.
Yep.
Should I calm down on how much I like him? Like, would I be crazy if I liked him in this like
I like him
12 to 14 range?
No, not at all. He would fit what the Mavs probably need as far as front court depth that can shoot, defend. He's a good athlete. He was a player that I was really high on. I had him as a first rounder coming into the season. And one of the knocks I had on him was the production and the talent weren't always on the same page. But I thought this year the gap closed. So he's someone that I would gamble on him that high, but I think you can probably trade down and get him. But he had a really good year. It's just sad we don't get to see him in the NCAA tournament.
All right, this is my last one, Nick, and then you can go on.
We'll have him back on. It's March.
I naturally watch a lot of North Carolina games. Tell me why Drake Powell's not the best wing defender.
Because VJ Edgecombe is?
All right. That's true. Okay. That's good.
But I like Drake Powell. I think that he's just in a unique situation at North Carolina. I mean, some games are starting him at the 4, and Hubert Davis is going to lean towards his veterans. But I like Drake Powell. I don't know if he should even enter the draft in a sense, because if you're not a first-round pick with NIL money, you can probably make $1 million+ dollars. So it's like you have to be a lock to me to go top 25 in order to stay in the draft.
I just love his perimeter defense so bad. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
anyway,
I mean, they
all
can
right.
use them.
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavericks. We're a daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Full episodes are available on any podcast platform and on YouTube. You can check out the show and follow us every single day for more Mavs content. Peace out. Boom.